You wouldn't believe the amount of times I get asked about my wheel and tire setup on my Forester. And for good reason. Wheels and tires can make or break your off-road build. And that's why I'm finally settling it for once and for all. If you've been asking about my wheel and tire setup, and I've sent you here, this is the answer you've been waiting for. And let's start with the basics. The wheels I'm running are Black Rhino gravel Beadlocks. They're 15x7 and have a plus 15 offset. The tires I'm running are Toyo Open Country AT3s. These are a 225/75 R15. And with that out of the way, let's talk about why I chose this setup. When I was upgrading the wheels and tires on my Subaru, I had a few different options. But looking at these options, I wanted to prioritize off-road capabilities over daily driving. Therefore, I prioritized a few different things to ensure I had a comfortable drive off-road. And the biggest one was, well, the sidewall. I wanted to ensure I had the biggest sidewall possible. This meant I would be selecting the smallest wheel I could run on my Forester while maximizing the tire size. I also made sure the wheel and the tire was relatively light, what ultimately led me to a P-rated tire rather than an LT. Another thing I looked at when selecting my tire was ensuring that my tire not only performed well in the summer, like on the rocks and in the mud, but it also was snowflake rated, ensuring that it would perform well in the snow and ice in our Canadian winters. And that poses a question, how well do they perform? Well, daily driving, the road noise isn't as bad as you'd expect for a pretty aggressive all-terrain. And furthermore, I don't see a huge impact on the fuel economy as I road trip throughout BC. But that isn't where they shine, as they are all-terrains. They perform great in typical conditions like rock-covered trails and dirt, but they really start to shine in the mud, performing much better than you'd expect for a typical all-terrain. And when it gets cold and snowy, being able to air them down ensures that I can just plow right through the snow. And well, if you're thinking of running this setup, I do have to warn you, there are some issues. And the first of the two issues is the fitment. This tire is a lot larger than the factory tire, so we had to make some modifications to make it fit. That included folding the pinch weld, which is bent flat, as well as heating up and trimming the fender liner. We also had to take a hammer to the inner fender to add just a little bit more clearance so that the tires wouldn't rub. And on top of that, we also had to cut the plastic here to get the rear wheels to fit. You can see all these modifications in the full tire install video. And the second issue, which is arguably a bit bigger, is these are actually true beadlocks. What that means, if you're unfamiliar, is the tire is actually sandwiched between the wheel and this ring right here, which not only adds to a lot of maintenance having to check these bolts, but it also makes changing over the tire a bit more time consuming. And while this means your tire isn't going to lose a bead when you're off-roading and requiring low tire pressure, it isn't as safe as a traditional wheel. It also means that with these P-rated tires, they often leak. But despite that, as you can tell from our epic adventures, these wheels and tires have been a perfect fit for us. And with that being said, you finally know what wheels and tires I'm running on my off-road Subaru Forester. So down below, let me know what you're running on your Forester. And while you're down there, don't forget to go ahead and check out Flat for Off-Road for all your off-road and adventure Subaru needs here in Canada, as well as the channel memberships for some exclusive perks. And I'll be seeing you guys on the next adventure.